Welcome in to the Hustle podcast. Well, the short version. Kelly in Vegas here with CT Betts, who has just been absolutely crushing college football this year. I cannot say the same for myself about the only bets that have been going my way. Chris gave us UCLA last week, and it looked terrible. They had two touchdowns that should have been. And I just threw my phone across the restaurant. I was at brunch with my girlfriends and said, screw it, I am done. After that Missouri pick six, I am done with college football today. And it actually ended on a much better note than it started on. UCLA helped things, Wyoming, but sometimes it's really hard to come back from those like gut punching losses, Chris. First question is, how do you recover from we have to be real. I mean, everybody says, oh, well, professional gamblers, they just move on. No, when you lose a game like I did Texas Tech and Mizzou on pick sixes, you don't just get over it.
I'm totally with you. And you and I have been friends for a long time. And remember how I used to be. I used to be completely out of control, and I used to let it affect, my next bet, the next day. I would throw a tantrum and stomp my feet like a little kid if something like that happened to me. I don't know what happened to me to mature and not act that way. But I feel like the last couple of years I've been more tame. If I have a bad beat or lose a game that I should have won. I don't really know what I do. I guess it's been really good so far, knock on wood, this year. I was with you on that Texas Tech game this year, but you kind of just got to let it go, even though it's so easy to say, right? And you can't, you're not going to forget about it as much as you say you are, but you just got to boom. And we've been doing this a long time, and it's the next game. You're only as good as your last win. Sort of wise guy told me back in the day, and I really like that quote. I use that a lot.
Yeah, and then you get reminded of all your losses all the time for whatever reason. It's always gross. No, most jokes aside, I was out with the prop queen. She was in town visiting, had some stuff going on. We were at brunch. I had the game on my phone, and it took every bone in my body not to just launch it across the restaurant. But maybe that's what it is. We're getting older, Chris. It's called growth. That's what this is, right? Like don't break your $1,400 iPhone because you lost a $2,000 bet. Then you now have a $3,400 iPhone that you have to buy.
Kel, how about this one, right? This is, how crazy is this? I went 5-1 on my posted plays this past Saturday in college football. I was getting replies on my card saying, I can't believe you won Oklahoma. I tailed you there. You didn't deserve to win. I was scared because I only had 5.5. What a terrible handicap. And so I would reply and be like, terrible handicap? They just won the game outright. And you just said that you tailed me on the game. They were mad that they won the game. You cannot win. You cannot win.
These people are insane. To quote the great John Murray, he told me this like 5 years ago. There's a lot of losers on the internet, okay? I don't know how to explain it. You talked me in to Oklahoma. I had him on my long list, and I went back and forth. I also had Louisville. Trig had Louisville, and I just couldn't see it happening. 5 turnovers benefited him there. Louisville, nice win. Marshall looked good until the third quarter. Mizzou looked good until the third quarter. It is what it is. Of course, I didn't have any dollars on Wyoming moneyline. I ended up 4-5 on Saturday, and that just doesn't pay the bills, unfortunately. So we are on to a new week. I've got 5 games I've played so far. I know you're going to be on the Hustle here in about 45 minutes live on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. So make sure you guys check that out. Chris has got a couple of games he's going to give over there. But let's go into Survivor and kind of talk about our very quick conversation regarding that today.
Yeah, so we're kind of running into a little bit of a problem here because we've survived, but we've burned quite a few good teams so far. And I think the problem is, Cal, I talked to Trig about this morning. There's not too many good teams in the NFL this year. So these next couple of weeks coming up, it's going to be an absolute grind here. We talked on the phone this morning. We talked early Sunday, and we kind of had 4 or 5 teams that might be a viable option. Jags were one of them, but you and I started to like the Colts. So I think that might be one of your plays this week. I don't want to give it away, but we strayed away from the Jags because of that. And then when we talked on the phone this morning, I said, Kel, the only thing I keep coming back to is the Rams. It's the only thing that seems logical right now. I was on the Rams last week with you. Man, that was a tough one, but they looked pretty good. The Eagles are a tough, good football team. As we've seen, they haven't skipped a beat. it looks like, since last year. I thought Cooper Cup looked unbelievable, and I think he's going to be able to shred that Arizona defense. And Stafford's able to get the ball out quick. He looks pretty good too. So we came back to the Rams here.
Yeah, signs just keep pointing. No James Conner. We know he will not be back for this one. So everything just kind of keeps lining up perfectly for us to take the Rams. I don't really think there's a better spot to use them. I do have them. I got my spreadsheet open. I actually don't have them anywhere else. This is the biggest spread they will be for the remainder of the season. Now, we haven't burned Baltimore yet, but Baltimore is not one of those elite teams. We haven't burned Seattle yet. I know that they're going to be a viable option the next couple weeks. I pretty much decided that I didn't trust the Cowboys to be our lone Thanksgiving pick, no matter how bad the Commanders look, because we've seen what the Cowboys are capable of, and that is losing on Thanksgiving. They've done it entirely too many times here. Yeah, they're probably going to be a 9.5-point favorite on Thanksgiving as things stand today, even with the Cowboys kind of playing. Let's put it this way. They lose to really good teams and they beat up on really bad teams, just kind of like we saw with the Pats. Should they be able to do so? Yes, but I wanted another option in our pocket. That is the Lions. So we did have to keep the Lions alive, even though week 8 they are an 8-point favorite. Also that week, Chargers. So it seems like the next couple weeks we got really slim margins and not a ton of options, which does concern me because you want to get to Thanksgiving, then you want to get to Christmas. Like we have,
Yep.
parameters in place. I have 4 survivors alive. One of them did go out with the Commanders last Thursday night. It is what it is. Am I frustrated about their play? Absolutely. But hey, I thought it was a good spot to use them, just like I did week 1 against the same said Cardinals. And we were life and death, you and I, week 1. So kind of one of those spots. How many survivors do you have left?
I have 5 left here out of
Okay.
7. So I have one left with you. That was the only one we did. I have one left with Uncle Benny, and then Trig and I have 3 left. And we were pretty happy to see. We just realized it yesterday that we still didn't realize we had the Bills left in one entry. So we
Very
thought we were
nice.
burning in all of them. And shame on us because we should be keeping better track of that. But
Oh, you
here
don't
we
have a
are.
handy dandy spreadsheet like I do? Uh,
Yours is great, and it's, you know what, you made a great call for us last week, because I love that we have both the Lions and the Cowboys available for Thanksgiving. Like you said, you have a couple of goals throughout the season where you want to get to. Our first goal is we want to be alive on Thanksgiving, and we're going to have 2 viable options for Thanksgiving. We win that game, then we're moving on. We want to get to Christmas. That's our next goal. The goal after that is to win the whole damn thing. So we aren't in. I wouldn't say we're in great shape. But Kel, there's a lot of people. There's only about 1,700 people out of 9,600 that entered this. So we're
Well,
doing pretty.
that's what
We're
I
doing
said to
okay.
John Murray the other day. I said, according to the Circa website, it says our entry's worth $5,000. And he goes, yeah, but we burned all the good teams. Our entry's not worth $5,000. No one would pay us $5,000 for our entry. And I said, listen, I don't hate kind of the roadmap that I've created. Is it going to be scary to take the Saints and the Browns? I think not utilizing Cincinnati was a good move on our
Yep.
part because I do think Joe Burrow, as he becomes healthier and this team starts to gel more, it is going to be nice to have them, the week before Christmas. There's a couple other spots here where you kind of have to look and say, all right, week 18, would I rather have the Ravens there than have to take Carolina or the Packers? Absolutely. So again, while it might be a little square of a route, there is a little bit of rhyme and reason to my madness. Unfortunately, right now, what we're seeing in the NFL, Chris, is the teams that are passing the eye test. I said this to Pam Maldonado. If you guys don't catch that show, Stack of Stats on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, there used to be a lot of parity in college football, right? The cream really rose to the top, Chris. Now with transfer portal, NIL, we're
Yeah.
seeing that the teams are a little bit closer together. But on the flip side, now we're seeing that there isn't these that top to bottom 1 through 32 any given Sunday, right? The Panthers are not a good football team. We can pretty much say, I go ahead, you're laughing, but seriously,
Yeah,
let's talk
I
about it. There
agree.
are just certain
How are they
teams
going to win
that
3 games? I don't understand how they're going to win 3, 4 games. I don't see it.
it's really tough. And there's teams like, we talked about Arizona, where Arizona that first couple weeks was kind of an anomaly. Everybody thought, what the hell? They had the Commanders on the ropes. And then they should have beat the Giants and spoiled Survivor then. Then they did spoil all the survivors with the Cowboys. But look what happened when they stopped playing NFC East teams, Chris. Then the cream started rising to the top. Yes, the Niners are the best team in the league. We know this. But did the Bengals look good last week? Or was that more the Cardinals coming back down to earth, Josh Dobbs throwing 3 interceptions?
I would say a little bit of both. I thought the Bengals looked a lot better than they have, and I think that's a big part due to I think Joe Burrow is getting healthier and healthier every
Healthier.
single week.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, or maybe he's
but
learning to
agree with
play
you on the
through that
passing
injury,
attack.
right?
Right.
Learning to play through an injury is really tough. We know his offensive line does not always do him a lot of favors. But yeah, to be able to say to have Cincinnati, there's 1, 2, 3 spots where I think we can use Cincinnati starting week 10, where I would feel a lot more comfortable than had we tried to get, crazy and put them in last week at Arizona, which I think the game could have went either way. Anyway,
Sure.
any other thoughts on the NFL? I know you're going to get over to the hustle here pretty shortly and talk about a best bet, but kind of anything that you like this week that you've got your eye on that maybe is a play on spot, play against, any situations you're looking at?
So I wanted to talk a little bit about Monday Night Football with you. I'm giving a best bet on the hustle uh, in regards to the NFL, so I'll leave that for that. Come over and watch that show tonight, 7 o'clock live. But Monday Night Football, Cal, is the Dallas Cowboys and the Chargers, and I don't know why I do this to myself. It's wild. The Chargers have screwed me time after time after time. I haven't made a bet yet. Looking at that game, I kind of like the Chargers on Monday night. I really do. I think they'll be able to hang with them. And I think that banged up Dallas D, Herbert will be able to score on them. And if Staley could not make any dumb decisions, which is, very hard for him to do, to not make dumb decisions, I think they could be very well in that game and have a good shot to win that game. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because he's got Mike McCarthy on the other side to make the same dumb decisions. I think that there's a little bit to having Kellen Moore there as the offensive coordinator, possibly. Not saying that Dallas has some prolific offense by any means, but he maybe has a little insight. I feel really bad for Justin Herbert. I think I would
Damn.
probably do a lot of things to have Justin Herbert in Denver as my quarterback, but instead I've Russell Wilson, which is not a. I already talked about that game once today. I don't want to talk about it again. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing because I
Okay.
don't think that I want to get involved in Monday Night Football. Primetime home dog. It just looks so easy to take the Chargers. No, I'm going to tease them because I'm a giant wuss. And I know that the Chargers are going to be in a one-score game with 3 minutes left, whether they win it or they lose by a touchdown. I'm just going to hopefully be already asleep because I am going to be so pissed off if I bet on Brandon Staley and he does something absolutely stupid. And I'm also going to be pissed if I don't take the Chargers and Mike McCarthy gets out coached, which is something that happens all the time. These when I was going off on my little rant there about like the parity in the NFL, how much of it do you think is these like younger, newer coaches who maybe are more analytical minded, like a Mike McDaniel or a
Daniel.
Kyle Shanahan? Some of these guys, like Andy Reid, I don't think is like rewriting the playbook here. I'm not saying he's like some prolific coach. Is he a good coach? Absolutely. But even he has got some of these other teams figured out so bad. There is just 7 or 8 teams towards the top, a handful of teams in the middle, and then the rest. I have an entire list of teams I will not bet on right now.
I think you made a great point. I think the great thing about Andy Reid is he's not I wouldn't say like he's not doing anything spectacular. He's just been in the game for so long and knows how to coach. And want to know what the best thing he's done? He's adapted with the game, Kel.
Yes.
The two guys that come to mind, and I am still a big Bill guy. The game has passed him by. And you see
You
it.
think so?
I do. I
You
really
think the
do.
game is passed by Bill Belichick?
I
Wow.
do. Yep. I really, really do. Him and Ron Rivera. It's time to you had great careers. It's time to hang them up. The game has passed
Oh
you
my
by, and you
God.
haven't adapted. I'm
I think
sorry
you're
to say.
so right. That
Yeah,
is interesting you say that because I just did the show with Pam and I told her, she goes, "What are you doing differently this week?" And I go, "I'm mixing things up. I was in Albuquerque with grandma Monday and Tuesday, didn't even look at the NFL until I got on the plane Tuesday night because I said, you know what? I've been handicapping on Sundays and Mondays all year
yep,
long and it's not working out well for me. I've been putting my bets in early in the week and it's not working." Right now, what we're seeing in the league is teams that pass the eye test. That's why the public's doing so well. 47, 22, and 5 against the spread. They have been crushing teams that are getting more than 70% of the tickets are that against the spread. Now, and again, when you're betting on Sunday and Monday, you're not betting for or against the public. It just so happens to be that I was on the opposite side. But these are the teams that are passing the eye test, and they're also covering the spread. The Niners, the Dolphins, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles. These are the teams not passing the eye test, CT. The Pats, the Giants, the Browns. And that's the problem is that when you have these teams, and now that you say that about adapting with coaches, so as a Pats fan, what do you think? You think Robert just needs to kick him to the curb or
I do. I think the Crafts need to get involved and say to Bill, "Listen, Bill, it was a great run. We appreciate everything you've done here. You're probably the best ever. We gave you a shot. The last 4 years, as you know, Bill hasn't been great. He really hasn't done anything to improve the team. I mean, New England fans are New England fans, and I mean, it's been great for 20 years with Tom Brady. Everybody's getting really, really fed up, and there hasn't been any changes. Cal, it's the same thing over and over again. He thinks he could win with these mediocre players and not spending money. It's not like the Patriots don't have money; they have plenty of money to spend. He just finds a way to chop it down and cheap out. Went out and got Juju Smith-Schuster, who's a corpse. Okay, like I don't understand some Jacoby Myers. Why did they let him walk? Like I get it, he's injury prone, but he was the best wide receiver here for 4 years. Just let him walk right out the building. They have no wide receivers. There's no skill position players. The defense is okay, but I mean, it's just they just defense can't win these games anymore like Bill used to. The game has passed him by. It's time for a whole new regime here in New England.
wow. That's definitely something. Adapt or die is always the name
Yep.
of the game in any industry. And hopefully for Belichick, he goes out with maybe a couple of wins, something, because you'd hate to see that. You hate to see kind of like Tom Brady after he won with Tampa. I was
Yep.
like, you should just retire now. He just
Retire.
gave the biggest middle finger to everybody and said, guess what? I can go into a team year one and win a Super Bowl. See you later. But he didn't. And it's not like he tarnished his legacy. I'm not saying anything like that. It's just more like you just went out like a meh.
Totally
I don't know.
agree. I was
I
surprised
think I'm
he
with
didn't.
you.
Yeah. New regime up here in New England, Cal. That's I'm ready for it.
Yeah, well, I called for a new regime about the last 6 years in Denver, and every new regime is not working out well for me. So I'm just going to stop and just keep betting against that team anytime they're laying points. That being said, my best bet this week is the Rams. You've seen me give it out on every single show. I also like the Colts, like CT said. Jags a little jet lagged, maybe. I think that's going to be the main focus of this week, but I don't think it's something that we should really focus on, if you will. Obviously, with travel and things such as that, but I'm more focusing on Calvin Ridley dropping every single pass he touches, and maybe the Colts finally starting to turn a corner here. Gardner Minshew is a great backup quarterback. We know this is a weird spot for Jacksonville. The only reason why I didn't end up being my best bet, CT, is because the Jags absolutely own the Colts, and that is frustrating, but I do think they will get the running game going against this Jags defense. We'll see. Shane Steichen, how about you don't throw it 3 times on second and goal? That would be great. CT, anything else you want to add before I let you go?
Yeah, I gave out one college pick on this show last week. It went pretty well, and this is not a pick I'm giving out on the hustle tonight. And unfortunately, you and I are against each other on this one, and that's the night game, the big one. Everybody's been waiting for USC at ND. It's got as high as 3 in a lot of spots here. USC's juiced a little bit. I bet USC +3. And Kelly, you're going to give me 3 points now with the offense that's putting up 50 plus points per game. The reigning Heisman Trophy trigger man, his running ability. sign me up. I totally get it. USC's defense is absolute trash. We've seen them get exposed week after week. But I'm going to take my chances with USC just needing to outscore a Notre Dame team that could only put up 21 and 20 points against Duke and Louisville. The USC offense is on another planet compared to Sam Hartman's. And let's not forget that ND, I had him this game, couldn't find a way to stop Ohio State going the whole length of the field to win at the buzzer. They couldn't figure it out then. I don't think they're gonna figure out how to stop Caleb Williams' offense either. This is a big one for USC. Both look ahead spots last week. You both. Oh, ND did lose. USC should have lost to Arizona. They figured it out. They grinded it out. They won a game in double overtime here. Hartman has looked horrible the last 2 games. I think USC will get some key stops that they need to outlast ND, win this game in a shootout. Fight on USC +3, and I bet money line as well. I like them to win this game.
Yeah, all it took was me to stop betting against Notre Dame, and they started losing football games. That being said, I don't really trust Lincoln Riley here. I'll say that much, following him in his Big 12 days. The one caveat, and that really pushed me over, I made Notre Dame a 3-point favorite, so I didn't really think there was a line value here, right? But my thought process was, I've seen this game before, Chris. I saw this USC team 6-0. Where did they go? As a dog, Salt Lake City last year, and lost as an underdog to a 2-loss Utah team. I just don't trust USC's defense. You're right, though. If this is a track meet, Notre Dame is going to get absolutely smoked. They're going to need a defensive probably score or special team score of some sort to win this game. And they're going to have to make some really, really big stops. They're going to have to put a ton of pressure on the Heisman frontrunner, Caleb Williams. We'll see how it ends up playing out. This isn't a large play for me, but I did play Notre Dame earlier in the week. I did fire on them -3. And then I have 2.5 in quite a bit of my contests that I'm in. So I did use them there. Not a stale line per se, but thought, you know what? I don't need to have a ton of money on this game that I think could be a coin flip when it comes down to it. Similarly to Washington, Oregon, I know Trig and I are head-to-head on that one. I lean towards Washington here, mainly because I wasn't that high on Oregon to start the season. I didn't play it in real life, but I did use them in some of my contest plays, and I know you and I need them in our college football contest as well. Hopefully, New Mexico State got a win for us last night. Thank God. What an atrocious team. Turns out San Jose State is actually worse. That was the worst pick. That I don't know who suggested that one.
Awful.
Maybe it was me. But God, I mean, we were digging so deep.
You're digging deep and down it there. Yeah. There's only so many teams left to take.
Luckily, we have Washington and Penn State both looking good. Both could win their respective conferences. We'll see how that ends up playing out over the next 6 weeks. I cannot believe we are over halfway through football season. Got to turn it around here. Chris, it's got to be on the hustle in the next 30 minutes. Make sure you guys head over to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Check out that show and don't forget to follow him at CT Bets on Twitter.